it's crazy to see like the golds coming from like sheep given bounty again.
Yep. And that's where a couple of the other Wham picks, we have Byzantines, which is another civ that is regarded quite highly in the meta right now. Delhi had some recent changes, so that's my favorite one right here that I want to see is I want to see Wham play Delhi. I talk about it, I feel like almost every tournament. I will never forget Wham doing some Delhi against Beasties Abbasid back in the OG days with Scholar Healing and a bunch of elephants, and I'm like, will we get to see elephants again? That's what I want.
I would love to see an elephant. I would love to see an elephant on the field today. I would like to see Mongols as well at some point. See some of the changes with that. But we are into the match here.
Game number 1 begins. Wham is playing as the Rus in the color blue, the MrMunch in the color purple as Chinese. And we're just seeing these openings, seeing what these players have in store. It's not the usual Rus minigame that we get to kind of pay attention to early. It is more of, hey, how do these builds differ now with the new changes that we've seen? Right.
We're not popping around the map to all the different deer packs and following 2, 3, 4 scouts fighting for that bounty. Certainly different.
And I think we actually see the one big new Rus change. So the previous couple series that have been casted today, we've been like, oh, it's going to be double hunting cabin, and it hasn't been double hunting cabin. Well, I'm looking over at Wham's side. I think if we go down just a little bit further, we might see a second hunting cabin, and he might have just done the OG double hunting cabin drop and not gone on to gold at all, and that is...
There it is.
I love it. I think there might be a little bit of some overlap there, so maybe he should have chosen a different line. But even still, very quick, very easy, and this also allows extra gold trickle for the Golden Gate. So yeah, there is that overlap. So probably just missing like 5 to 10 trees, five gold probably on one of the hunting cabins at least. But that extra gold income really gives that extra boost for the Golden Gate. You're also allowed to, get into maybe knights earlier, getting into some of those upgrades, albeit later without the bounty that it used to be, but now with the new bounty way.
Yeah, and I know we were talking before we started casting today, talking about, well, the Kremlin is still the go-to landmark, but it's been Golden Gates. It's been Golden Gates taking advantage of that new mechanic.
Yeah, the key thing for me is that the Kremlin is one that I think it still is going to be matchup based. So I think the Rus are going to have to respect the feudal civs more. And then against the ones that like to boom, against the castle ones, they're going to go Golden Gate. They're going to use that to put the pressure on. They don't need that little bit. They can just drop a wooden fortress to make up for that wood discount that they aren't able to get, or extra wood income. And now they're going to have this automatic ticket buildup of trading, those tickets on in, getting better resources and whatever they may be.
Yeah, tickets going up a little bit faster after this patch. We do see MrMunch with a scout right around the deer pack, almost going down there.
Oh, gosh, this is huge. So he's trying to be annoying. He's trying to lame the deer. We know Wham's going to want to move out to this deer, but at this point, he's already on the boar in the east. He didn't really care that much. He knows he's going to get here eventually. But what the big problem comes is now Munch has no idea what Wham's doing.
Yeah, losing that early scout, especially when you're not building multiple against Rus anymore to fight specifically over the bounties, staying in the dark, that is going to hurt you.
And it's not, actually, it is going to be that quick song Dynasty, but as far as the Barbican location, I feel like this is kind of just like, hey, I'm going to put it in the front of my base, give me some vision. It's not like on a resource. It's not like securing your next resource. It's kind of just in the middle of nowhere.
Right. It's not specifically, blocking off something or maybe a route in. It's just right in front.
And I feel like our observer's trying to tell us something, and the person who I see do this, I want to say Baltoon's actually the person who does this, but when your opponent's Chinese and they're going Song Dynasty and they don't have units out, go to the boar, go to the deer on their side, drop a wooden fortress, and now it's yours.
Yeah, take it right now.
Take it now, and we know how hard Chinese is to have that early food income. They don't want to, they have a great granary transition once you get there, but they don't want to be on that early. So that is what you can always deny some resources from your opponent. But again, Wham doesn't care. He's sitting on the boar right now, and what is going to be next is probably Castle Age, if I had to guess, based off of resources in the bank.
Yeah, Wham still saving up here, pushing that deer right into his town center from that deer pack. Little cheeky play there with the deer push. But yeah, not making any moves to any production, and with just resources being food and gold right here. Looks like he is going to move on into Castle.
Yeah, and the scout on his opponent's side of the map really allows him to do this. He knows exactly what the MrMunch is doing, exactly what the MrMunch is planning. And Mr. Munch actually had to end up making another scout here that we see.
Never feels good. Yeah, I think it popped right back up into the queue right as that other scout died. Just immediately get that vision back, like take the hit on the Vil and just get the scout back on the field.
I can't harp on that enough because I see that so many times. Someone loses their scout and they're like, oh, well, now I'm just SOL. I can't see any. It's like, no. You need vision. You need knowledge, especially at the highest elo, because all of a sudden, what if Wham walks up with 40 spears? Obviously, that's not what we'd expect, but it could happen.
Right. If you don't know, you don't have that like window of reaction time that a scout provides to let you change your strategy around based on what your opponent's doing.
Oof. And the high trade house is being dropped. So Fast Castle, 6 minutes and 40 seconds is able to drop that. He's got, again, the hunting cabin spam. He's out on the boar, and he hasn't had to worry about anything coming his way. He saw exactly when Mr. Munch started to produce these jukes.
Yeah, only one on the field, one in production, 9 workers on the high trade house. He is going to be up to Castle very soon, feeling good about it.
Oh, and it's actually the Mr. Munch is the one who's trying to go over and take the boar. He has a couple chooks here, but what? Oh, oh, just making sure it doesn't get to the exact placement that Mr. Munch wants it to be at.
Wham keeping those Vils honest.
But this is where Wham's going to hit Castle, and Mr. Munch is trying to macro up there, but he needs this food to get there, and he's having to drop outposts instead of gathering the food. This timing's delaying, and Wham's already producing knights. He could go right to that boar, right to the deer, or just to the base now that, you know, the gold's not protected on the backside.
Yeah, just walk around that Barbican in the front and get those knights in there, start doing some damage.
Double outpost secured, more than enough room for those villagers on inside. The Vil count difference from Song Dynasty isn't too crazy at this point. You know, Munch is still getting the resources he needs to, but the bounty is starting to climb and going to keep climbing and keep climbing. You know, we're at 350 at the 8-minute mark. And, you know, we're going to check in a couple minutes later, and Wham's probably going to be a tier 3 and sitting pretty.
Yeah, I mean, they did adjust the threshold for tier 3, but just the way the bounty works now, I mean, you're still getting there way quicker than you ever would have under the old system.
Yeah, I think Draxos, we were talking about it the other day, and it was like you can get tier 3 with your boar, your 2 deer, and it's like 3 sheep, and that's tier 3. That's all you need. So anything more you get, it's just more gold.
Yep.
You're happy if you're able to take your opponent's deer, if you're able to take your opponent's boar, or if it's a map with more than just, you know, the initial couple, you are feeling real nice. But Mr. Munch proactively drops the outpost on the gold, didn't see it dropped early, and so Wham hasn't been able to really get much damage. But the gold trickle from all these resources, again, it's like a pseudo molly.
Yeah, from all the hunting cabins, that high trade house that was pushing 200, and also from, you know, the animals that are being harvested.
He has 0 on gold, and he has like almost just as much gold per minute as the Mr. Munch is. And you can't forget that this isn't just Chinese villagers on gold. There's going to be IOs that are dropping off gold every now and then. So usually Chinese is one of those civs that you're like, they're always having a ton of gold from all the tax gold as well. And Wham's able to not necessarily keep up with it even hand for hand, but he doesn't have any villagers on it.
Yeah, 300 gold per minute without a villager assigned to it is crazy, especially for the Rus here. And we do see that first mining camp coming down onto the gold for Wham.
And he's going to even be able to build on that even further as far as the passive gold income goes. I see 4 relics probably securable at this point. He's already bringing 1 back in. There's the 2 in the mid-map and the 1 in the back. So 4 easily securable relics for him, and then sacred sites as well. So Mr. Munch is definitely starting to... He has a build up. He's starting to match the castle timing, but he needs to do something with this castle timing before it's too late.
Yeah, we do see that astronomical clock tower. We also see a second TC for Wham up to the north on that deer pack there coming down.
Yeah, and the Knights do try to dive that boar location. Like we said, there's only a few chooks here. The outpost here, these are Castle Age units. They laugh at this. They're thanks for scratching my back. I appreciate that. My back was a little bit itchy there.
Just a little, tickle from the Jugs there as they get cleaned up easily. Outpost still firing. The Knights continue on to find another target here.
And more idle villagers and potential damage here. TheMrMunch has a few more units. Again, not Castle Age upgraded yet, I don't believe, based off of the look. More idle time, and Wam is just putting the pedal to the metal, wants to keep that gas on, and now will be able to build that villager lead and not fall back on it because of Song Dynasty of his opponents.
Yeah, second TC is going to keep him right neck and neck there with Song, doing a good job using those knights to deny TheMrMunch of that food on the berries, just being real annoying, keeping those vills idle.
And, I mean, this is where he knew TheMrMunch didn't have a big military count. And he keeps hitting the food. He keeps hitting the food. He keeps hitting the food because he can't build that military count up unless you're getting food. He wants to make villagers. You can't. This is a game that you don't ever really idle your TC until you get to, like, max bop.
Right.
So he's not idling TC to make military now. It's still making that. And, ooh, another raid comes in. A knight does fall, and no villagers get taken. But Wam has taken the villager lead and has more of a military prowess out on the field as well.
Yeah, those knights staying alive, able to pick off. The spears are Castle Age, but there's only just a handful of them. More come in for reinforcements. Knights are going to have to leave the area. Wam doing a good job of idling that food as much as possible.
Weren't there 10 villagers on this board earlier? Or 8 at least? I mean, there
were more there.
I saw one just fall for sure. Now there's only 6. And Wam is constantly, again, poked, prodded. Next charge he has on that lower health villager, that one's fallen. And these 2 archers have constantly poked the gold. It's not kills on the gold, it's idle time.
Yep.
Idle time, idle time. And it starts adding up so much. I heard Viper was actually the one who said this when he was talking about it. He was like, a lot of times he doesn't think about things in terms of villager kills or if he's up. He thinks in terms of resources. I idled villagers for 5 seconds on their 10 seconds on the gold. It's like, oh, that's one less, there were one less crossbow that can come out or one less upgrade that he's going to have now. So that's the way to kind of sometimes think about this on building up. Idle time definitely still has a massive impact.
Yeah, how you think about like resources per minute compared to like how many military units per minute you can translate that into. Exactly.
And I love the proactive play from Wam. He's been keeping the pressure up and he wants to keep the pressure up, but he knows at the same time, if he has this lead, if he has this build up, the way for TheMrMunch to come back in the game is raiding. Splitting off one knight, splitting off a lancer, sending palace guards on through, and Wam is going ahead and proactively walling. We saw a little blockage there, but I think Wam's just going to wall around the blockage and keep up this aggression going, and also kind of building the boom behind it. We are at the 14-minute mark, and he is about to hit tier 3.
Yeah. That is,
I think next drop off of all of these deer villagers, because of how much they'll hold, each of them, it'll be tier 3 here. Yep, there it is. And a full wall all the way across the map, so there is not going to be one single spot that he is vulnerable in. There's still only a few spears here, and there's an archer mass now to clean out the spears and allow the knights to run rampant. Another spear falls. There's no spears left. Knights get to do whatever they want.
Yeah, there's just 3. They're a little injured. We got palace guards coming up, and towers gonna be enough for the moment to drive Wam back.
But Wam is making the transition away from the archers and going into the crossbows now. So we'll be matching the crossbow number of TheMrMunch, but also we'll have more of that scary front line of the knights. There were 3 there that were low health. There's 7 out on the field. We just don't know where they are, and that's where
there's one right there.
Does, and another, actually that's not a vill, that's an IO that falls. Never feels good there, as those IOs are quite expensive.
And yeah, losing that benefit for the time it takes to remake one as well.
This is just such an easy spot for Wam to keep aggressing. It's double deer and the boar, so it's like, why not keep focusing on this location? Taking the fight against the Chooks, though. These are archers. Needs to make sure that those knights are being that front line. That's exactly what they're able to do now after closing the gap. Archers continuing to step up. A few A moving on to the outpost. Can't afford that here now, but Wam still has the number, still has the eco, and he's about to be on top of even more villagers.
Yeah, that ball of units just keeps pushing up, and TheMrMunch throwing in the towel. GG for game 1 here.
Nice, solid, clean game by Wam on that game number 1. And it also shows that Roos, yeah, they might have kind of done a similar structure, but it wasn't the same exact opening build order. He changed up some things. He did the double hunting cabin like we had kind of contemplated and talked about. And so different from what Puppy did, different from what GUA did.
Yeah, very, very well executed. Great job just preventing TheMrMunch from really doing anything, hitting that Castle Age timing. Pretty insane.
And I kind of laugh about saying that, you know, Puppy and Wam did a different thing, because when I think about like Lucifron and Vortex, sometimes you will see them play a game and you'll be like, I wouldn't be able to tell which one was different. They like by the like millisecond they're doing the same things. And meanwhile, Puppy and Wam are like, my brother's doing that? Nope, not going to do that. I
disagree with him on that. Yeah, I've got a better plan here.
Yeah. This is what I'm going to do. But you could see how he just kind of slowly built that trickle up, continued to build that trickle up, kept the pressure forward, and while it looks really bad on the graph, TheMrMunch was doing the right things. He was reacting well. He was trying to dodge the raids, but it's just one of those, the onslaught was there, and Wam just kept it going, and you can't be everywhere all at once.
No, you can't. Yeah, Wam had that scout in there, knew that, you know, TheMrMunch not building up that feudal military, able to say, okay, well, I'll just take a second TC, your Song Dynasty. I'm not going to let the boom run away from me. Just going to play this conservatively, build up my army, and end it.
Yeah, and I also think this is one, like, you come in with a game plan, you're like, Bruce versus Chinese, he's like, oh, maybe I want to go fast castle. But then he also sees the double deer and the boar, and he goes, not only am I going to go fast castle, that's where I'm going to attack.
Yep.
Like, that's where you're always adapting by what you see, what you're scouting, which is why I like the AoE4 maps not being crafted the same thing every time, because then it just becomes, I'm going to repeat the same map over and over until I get exactly what I want. Now it's like, oh, I need to think. And thinking's big.
Yes, that is why, like, I'm with you. I like the generated maps. I like not just practicing one civ on the same exact layout and knowing each matchup, like, okay, coming from this angle is what I want to do every single time. Having the resources different, the cliffs different, taking the Dark Age to identify in your mind, like, okay, there's going to be, like, he's likely going to expand in this direction. This is where maybe some feudal fights are going to take place. How am I going to, you know, design my feudal strategy around where all the resources are laid out on the map?
And so now, next, kind of looking at the next civilizations left on over, we talked about Byzantines being that primetime civ. It's nice for Wam knowing that even if he drops this game, which we all know that he's the favorite in this setup, but even if he does drop this game, he's like, I still got Byzantines, I still got Mongols. ABBA had some great changes, so he has a lot of backstops to drop on back into. But enough of that. We're starting this game 2. Wam's up, got the lead 1-0, and it's the French-English matchup.
Yeah, here we go to Dry Arabia, looking at the opening here.
I mean, right off the bat, if you're TheMrMunch, obviously he doesn't see this yet, but he's happy. French gets forward gold. That is the it's so funny, like, hearing different civs being like, oh my god, forward, oh my, a forward wood line. It's like, French is like, if their gold is forward, it's the thing they hate the most. And his secondary gold is right next to it too, which is never a good feeling either. The only other place he could kind of sneak on back to is all the way on the south side, but that's quite a bit of walking time.
That's a hike, yeah. A huge hike. French just so gold hungry to maintain that night production. You shut them off of gold, you can shut them down pretty easily.
Yep, and the big thing here is, what will TheMrMunch's game plan be? As it's weird saying that English can kind of dictate the pace with the way that they play, but it's because they can just wall themselves in, and then it forces your opponent to react and do something. So they kind of do dictate the pace in a sense.
A weirdly passive-aggressive style where instead of, the pace coming from the aggro, it's from the passive and defensive.
Yeah, it's like,
plan.
oh, he's walling, he's building a second TC. I need to do something now. You're kind of putting this timer on. French can match the eco number due to extra TCs, and their TCs work better, but they don't have the same food prowess. They don't have some of the same kind of bonuses that the English can do at times.
Yeah, they're missing the rest of those eco bonuses that really allow the French, the English, to just hang back.
This is the first change of pace that we are seeing. It is not going to be the Abbey. It is going to be that Council Hall play. So I think TheMrMunch is... I don't know why he would go Council Hall instead of the Abbey if he's going with the second TC, which I see him moving out onto the stone for the second TC. So maybe just trying to play super defensive. but longbows don't feel great. Maybe it's just the idea that he'll have a double range at castle for crossbows.
Yeah, potentially. Because we're talking about like how the French's gold is so far forward. You'd want that, king out there to keep those gold vills in check. Make sure that they can't harvest safely.
Yeah, I would expect it, like if you go in Council Hall, to be the OG, like Council Hall, drop a barracks at the same time. He's starting to just move across the map, deny the gold, force French onto other resources, force French off of knights, and then play your own game. But that's where he's still playing it like the old English way with the 2 TCs, though.
Yeah, typically it is just that, all the resources with the Council Hall are going to be invested into longbow spears, all that pressure as soon as possible into the other base. But yeah, a second TC as well.
If there's one player that I don't want to do that against, though, it's Wam. He is like one of the people that I think is like notorious when I think of killing reinforcing units. Like, I still remember like a year and a half ago, he was always the person that I always said, oh, Wham's so good at like playing against English when they're like sending longbows across the map, and he'll just pick off 1 or 2 and without taking a ton of damage on those units as well. So very difficult to execute that against Wham. So maybe TheMrMunch kind of is keeping that in mind, and that's why he's going with the second TC.
Yeah, he's gathered enough stone at this point. Both players into feudal. We don't see any longbows coming out of that council hall right now. So, like you were saying, may just be that increased production for crossbows once we get to castle here.
Yeah, I mean, any longbows that come out delays a second TC even further. I don't think you can afford that if you're going with this play. Usually you want this down as soon as you possibly can. There's even some builds where they'll already have it starting to build at this point, but that's where, or not at this, but like at this point now, it's like right at the 5-minute mark-ish, but that's usually where the knight is already coming across, and Wham's doing the 1 knight into 2 TC build because he saw it, he scouted it, and he did exactly what we said. Match the TC, and his TCs are going to be better.
Yep. Yeah, well played there for Wam.
We've already seen that Vill lead increase up to 3. I don't think Knight has been able to do any damage, but what this 1 Knight does is it forces the TC in a more defensive location than maybe TheMrMunch was wanting.
Can't go as far out, take those resources that he may have thought about initially scouting with that knight running around there, looking to pick off and deny that second TC.
It does look like the second TC's location has been spotted. Wham does a great job, and I was about to say great. He went past the scout and made sure the scout didn't take the charge, hit a villager, but follow-up attack hit another, so didn't actually successfully take down a Vill. But look at the TC timing from Wham on the other side. Very, very clean timing. Doesn't have it built at the same time, but starting it soon after and still has that lead. So by the time this finishes, he'll still be in the lead. He still has that Knight Roman, and more importantly, he secures the deer, which
I was going to say,
love.
Yeah, that feels a lot better than securing something else. I mean, having that additional food per minute coming in from the deer for the French. Invest into knights there.
Yep. English, with that second TC, not only was able to protect the gold, but also really the wood line was the key there. I find English, it's very, very difficult if your wood starts getting idled out after you've dropped that second TC because you don't have the same production. You don't usually have multiple barracks out or a barracks out at times even. So then if you get delayed off of wood further, now you're even farther behind on the spear number. TheMrMunch scouting around, though, sees the villagers on gold. I'm not sure if he scouted the stone yet or during that pass-through, but I'm sure he will have a good idea that Wham is going 2 TCs, considering there's only been that 1 knight.
Yeah, there's been barely any aggression, just showing that 1 knight attacking that second TC.
But second stables is coming down from Wham. Not only that, he already has the range down, and so he wants to play this feudal. The longer this goes in feudal now for Wham, the more that villager difference is going to start leading on up. Obviously, English can get the nicer farm transition, but they're not getting a lot of the other extra potential bonuses, and they don't have access to knights.
Yeah, that's a big thing French have. We do see that initial barracks coming down right now, so spears on the way very soon, but Wham's already got an archer on the field, already anticipating this. Knight and scout circling around, looking for some way. We do see a gap.
Is that actually a gap? I'm not sure. It kind of looks like it, but at the same time, it could be a huge bait. If a knight goes through that, he's on top of TCs. The villagers just jump on in, and then
basically trapped on the inside. Yeah,
it's bad path. We know how AoE4 pathing goes, and he might walk in, but he might not be able to get out as easy. The first longbow, though, is kind of trying to deter that knight away. I'd be careful, though, flying too close to the sun. And the archer is moving across as well. The thing about this archer is it's going to be able to deny the gold before longbows head that way. And I think he maybe even scouted that and wants to fall back a little bit, wait for some of his buddies to come too.
Yeah, get that mass going and then start engaging on that gold mine there.
Gold vein, and if the scout's positioned near the gold vein, it actually will give the archers the vision to maybe shoot over the wood line, just deny that wood line, make him reposition. And Wham, speaking of repositioning, taking the next set of deer.
Yeah, this map is all his right now.
Oh, it is a hole. Oh, my gosh.
Oop, and they are through. Vils in trouble. Those knights are on the inside. They're going to stay on the inside and take out as many Vils as possible. Archers behind.
He only took out one villager, and that knight is going to fall. But now will not pick up anymore. One knight for one villager. I don't think that's a win.
Yeah, well played for Munch for keeping all those except for one Vils alive in there. Good defense there, but now he's certainly scared on that wood line. Not as safe as he may have once thought himself to be.
He actually just said, I'm forgetting about that wood line. I'm repositioning to the other one, which doesn't have walls on the other side.
Right.
So I think the same thing could happen again.
Just come around the other side. Yeah, we do see a knight chase a scout on the eastern side of the map, heading north, maybe towards that wood line. There is a little mass outside of the English walls.
Oh, they already chopped through. They already chopped through. It took that long. I mean, with 25 villagers on wood, they're chopping through fast, and another villager falls. The knights circle around the other side, maybe to take out the scout, I think. Take out the scout? Oh, they didn't get the charge.
Oh, no. Didn't quite connect. Spears coming out. The knights are going to retreat for the moment. But it's a very, very dangerous wood line there for the English.
Yeah, especially considering the spears are being pulled out a little bit. I do think he has the longbows protected just in case the archers try to step up. But what's Wham doing behind those? It's castle.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I was saying earlier, is if you're playing that single TC, if you're forcing English onto that extended feudal, there's a point where you go castle and they literally, oh my gosh, he was trying to out-micro, because the 3 knights beat 4 spears, if microed correctly, but there was a little bit of body blocking by his own knights that didn't allow him to kite back away. So a little bit of some oversight, and it's actually not Royal Bloodlines. He's just going Guildhall. He says, and what they'll do is they'll just wait on the Guildhall until they have enough to go straight in from it.
Yeah, just that big investment, few minutes into castle to just scoot right on up to imp. We do see another raid coming in on the gold. Oh, one Vil down.
One Vil down, and the scout falls for it, which Wham's fine with that one for sure. Soon enough, and I love it too. He starts dropping castle, and then it's just all this extra production, getting these upgrades into play now. Yeah, 4 knights on the field doesn't sound too crazy, but now is when he will start producing more. Now he's still had all the map control. He can grab relics, passive resources, sacred sites, which tries to force English out, and English don't want to come out.
No, Munch is looking pretty okay, like just walling himself in, having that little English fortress, and the French are just going to cash in on all of the resources on the map behind it.
What are these built? I feel like Wham was debating on going to take the boar, and then he was like, actually, I'll just go take these berries behind.
Might be a little too far forward. I don't know. Yeah.
English isn't going to go take the boar. They're not going to go take those deer, I don't think, but it is still a risk. If it gets scouted out, Mr. Munch, he'll just throw a couple longbows that way, throw a couple spears or men-at-arms, or really kind of whatever he desires.
We have a potential for another raid coming around the right side of the base here. A couple of knights, some archers behind, looking to take out the spears. Able to get a couple picks there.
This is really where Mr. Munch has to make sure his spear number keeps up. He has a ton of food right now, and he's just not having the same amount of wood in the bank because he's spending all of it, and the farms are just producing more than he was expecting, I think.
Yeah, look at that. That's
way
huge farmland. Yeah.
I mean, it's not way too many farms if you got other villagers to gather the resources, but wood keeps getting idled. He keeps getting delayed on off, and we might see some more damage from these archers on the front side.
Yeah, they're looking for a target. Are they going to see that Vil? No, they're not.
I feel like they attacked the barracks. I don't know why, but I think it was.
I saw that too. I saw yeah.
I think it was a longbow potentially, but it looked like the barracks there for a second. But at the same time, the knights are still on the backside. It's not a full square wall around, and TheMrMunch is getting damage from it. He is paying for not fully enclosing his base like English usually does.
Yep, north side just completely open. All the farms are there for the taking if Wam is able to get some knights in there uncontested, and Munch dropping that white tower to try to keep that farmland safe.
And look at the onslaught of just blue units coming across the map. There is another huge grouping of blue units. All Wam needs to do is spot this out. He moves over to the stone. This is going to be for a keep in between his production, I'm assuming, to get that cheaper production count. But he doesn't have vision of the age up, so TheMrMunch should be able to finish this timing.
Yeah, white tower is going to go up. There are a couple of knights in the base coming around looking for a raid target here. Meanwhile, a big group of units at the front, and here comes the raid. Charges off, villager down. There's two.
Three. This is just where he's slowly been nickel and diamond, taking some decent trades in front of the white tower, but now white tower finishes, archers immediately start falling. You got to run away. That thing is a machine gun, but the knights are still on the backside. Look at the build difference that Wam has been able to build up. It's not just the 2TC play, which we're seeing more raids come in from those knights, but it's the knights. It's 13 villager kills and counting.
Yeah, those knights just chasing that big mass of villagers around the council hall there. Look for more targets, disrupting that wood line again, potentially on their way out. It looks like it's finally fully walled at this point. Not going to be able to escape that way again.
More villagers are going back to the goat. There's still 3 knights there. Munch, stop, please. Those are villagers, their lives. They have families.
Oh, it's a shame. Yeah, 21 Vil kills at this point, and yeah, Munch calling it.
This is one of those that if we had let this game go another 3 minutes, it would have been at the point where like Munch just doesn't have an eco anymore, and Wam is like 100+, and with 50 knights out on the field.
And the inevitable like military push to close it out with no response. Yeah.
TheMrMunch, he saw the beginning and the end. He didn't want to get torn down that hard. He's like, look, I'm going to go out when I'm up high here. I still got some units. I still got some villagers. You know, I still got extra TC under my belt.
Drop this white tower, see what happens here. But those knights still just in the backfield, able to jump on those Vils on the gold mine. And
you can just see the economy count as well. It just never came to fruition. The second TC for Munch, did he ever get a higher Vil lead? No, but that's because Wam scouted the second TC, had the knight do damage, and then had his own second TC that outproduced.
Yeah, second TC going up like maybe a minute later than the English one. Very good timing on that.
Exactly. But I know any second now we're getting game number 3 set on up, and that is where, will we see anything to shake up the meta? Will we see anything new? Only time will tell, because the game is starting now, and I did say it was going to have to be a more conservative cistern. But it's kind of on everything. It might not even have been a conservative one. That's just on every resource now.
Yeah, that's a pretty good cistern there, picking up that gold, the wood line, and all the sheep at home. Don't see that initial spear on the way out from Order to the Dragon.
Oh, it's a double farm drop instead of the early barrack. So wants to make sure he doesn't have that drawback of running out of sheep, running out of food. That is always one of the biggest struggles with any civilization, is if you're not getting food, you're not getting military, and you're going to lose. But Wam is about to be dropping his feudal age actually here in just a second. I'm wondering if he wants to try to go with maybe, didn't they upgrade the Triumph ability a little bit? And
yeah, I believe they upgraded Triumph. Same thing if you were to go into
Cistern.
the cistern, cistern on the hill.
Yeah, that's what it's called. I knew the first word. I was like, hopefully
the gulp landmark, the one where you gulp.
Oh, exactly. But it is not going to be the Hippodrome. It's going to be the OG Grand Winery. Lovely location for it, obviously next to the berries, and it allows him to drop some olive groves right next to his TC and that good old landmark.
Yeah, good spot for that. Can get the surround on it once the berries are gone. Yeah, standard Byzantine stuff. The olive oil boost from the Grand Winery, such a benefit in getting those Mercs out there.
Yep, Chapel will be dropped on the wood line, I'm sure, from Mr. Munch, which is exactly what he plans to do here. And now the key is going to be what production buildings are going to be first. And I don't know if we clicked on the trade post yet, just to see what. I'm not saying
maybe there's an elephant.
I'm not saying it's guaranteed that we're going to see any Merc house on the trade post, but it's like, if so, let's just check and see what we. Oh, okay. Well,
you can't really complain about Royal Knights,
but it's not elephants here. We're not getting the best of both worlds like we were wanting. I don't think we'd see the Mercs come out anyways from the trade post, just because it's a little bit vulnerable, a little bit risky.
A little far away, yeah.
You might be just well, actually, you are just as close to your opponent's base than you are with yours at that point.
Yeah, but elephants.
If they were there. Now we're going to start seeing that olive oil trickle, though, and this is really where Byzantines, it takes them a little bit to get online, but it's almost like Mali, where if they get online with the olive oil, just like Mali gets online with the cows, it's like, why do they have so many extra units? It's like, oh, because they made 40 longbows for free, and it's like, that's not fair, but it is.
Yeah, that's the Byzantines. You blink, they got 5 longbows. The game develops a little bit more. You don't get any kills on them, and all of a sudden, they're knocking on your door with like 20, 25.
I always laugh seeing the graphs at the end of the game where all of a sudden it's like Byzantines, it's like 10 units popped out in like 1 second, and you're like, oh, they were down in military, and now they're ahead. Great,
just spiked right ahead, yeah, that military contract.
Exactly. Wheelbarrow coming in for both players. Obviously everyone's favorite upgrade, and there is the first Merc house that we have from Wam starting to be built. Just like we said, olive oil coming in right as he's going to have enough essentially for that first contract. We'll see what he is going to choose. Yeah,
I feel every time that I've casted a game and been like, oh, what's he going to pick? It's just longbows. Longbows every time.
And is that Keshix? I think it's Keshix. I don't know what all the names are for him. Yeah, it's Keshix.
It is Keshix. All right. And mixing it up.
Letting the micro show. We saw him try to do that little bit of night micro where he had that night loss, and maybe he wants a little revenge. He's like, look, I'm not letting any of these Keshix go down. I'm make sure they're all staying alive here.
This time, I'm doing it right. This time, everybody's coming home from this one.
And playing up against Order of the Dragon Horseman, the Horseman can obviously chase him down with the move speed, but the Keshix do have that little slight healing advantage, slight healing bonus, especially if you got houses out in the middle of nowhere. You can just get some extra free hits on it, get some extra free heals.
Knock on the door, take your health, and then run away after that.
But that is the only military building out for Wam. He is planning on Fast Castle with just the Keshix from the Mercs coming out.
Yeah, let's see if he can hold that. We do see first batch of Gilded Horsemen onto the field. We got one in Q1 on there for Mr. Munch, making his way across the map. Keshix now on the field, gonna scare that scout home.
Scout might just kind of run on out away, especially the Horseman. He might just be trying to bait these Keshix away and allow the Horseman to circle back around for the gold. So, might not be seeming like it's much, but escort's the perfect way for the Horseman to maybe land a connection and at least land some idle time.
Scout now on the berries, just seeing where those villagers are. Mr. Munch dropping some walls in the front of the base, and there's the Horseman.
Oh, he uses the accuratory defense here from the villagers. So those are not just normal villagers. They got a little bit of extra oomph to them, but that is not a normal Horseman either. And I don't think an accuratory is enough to deal with those.
No, you can see a couple of hits have connected with the Gilded Horseman, but that is just not a lot of damage at all. That might be like 5 hits, and here comes his friend.
And the second one connecting is at a Vil. It's not quite a Vil kill. On the other side, Keshix trying to do some return damage. Gilded villagers working fine, and that Keshix.
Low health, the TC.
That's a horseman. What the horseman just get stuck on?
Gets stuck on the scout trying to run past, and he just like auto attack.
I think
the
it
scout.
charged into the scout is what it did. But that Keshik ended up falling. I think the scout ended up falling into the TC. So Wham maybe looking a little rattled here from that horseman raid. Maybe wasn't expecting it, and he's been on the same resources for a little bit now and has not been able to drop castle yet.
Yeah, just like a few food shy of it. Do see horsemen chasing down the scout of Wham. We also see those Keshik chasing down.
We do. It is the cistern of the first hill.
We're gulping.
We're gulping. It's Cataphract Nation over here.
Speedier cataphracts after that last patch, giving them a boost of speed to catch up to the normal night speed here. Is that a villager?
Hey, that villager wants a part of the action. He says, look, look, look. They hand out swords sometimes. They hand out spears sometimes. I want to join in on
I heard down in the Byzantine Empire, they give them pikes every now and then. Yeah.
He's like, that's no fair. And look at these guys. A little shiv. It's close enough.
Just needs to run a little bit faster. Just a little bit more marathon training to keep up, because that Vill is now being sent back.
The Keshik deciding to take the fight. Like we said, that healing is just proving to maybe be enough. The other couple horsemen have circled around, though. There's an outpost here to make this a little bit more difficult to dive the cistern of the first hill, and the cistern of the first hill will go up, as those are horsemen and there's still Keshiks there.
Yeah, Keshik's going to keep that cistern safe, allow that to go up.
And the Keshik lost that 1v1 to the horseman, by the way. I think the horseman stayed alive at 1 health. And a wolf might actually get close.
On the way back.
The wolf takes it out. No, it's still alive. I don't know what health it's at, but that was. I saw a little ping come out on the mid map. Horseman trying to still cause that annoyance, loses the scout for it, and will lose the horseman as well.
Maybe.
I jumped the gun, but Wham still has not aged up. I feel like he has had the resources, had so close to being able to age up. Villager, bring your hammer out. Hammer, not wood.
Just tap it.
What? He thinks it's done.
No way. No way.
You can see the annoyance from the observer. It's like, come on. He's building this.
He's connecting it to the
the aqueducts are right there next. He thinks it's done.
Well, you don't see a lot of cistern of the first hill built recently. Maybe you just don't remember what the actual landmark looks like. It's like, yeah, that's close enough.
Maybe you don't see the age up in the middle of the screen here. I don't know. Oh my gosh! And Mr. Munch, his timing is not going to be far behind now at this point, especially if this keeps ticking.
Just bought himself so much. Like,
what is he? He's there.
What is he? Okay, he has to know now.
No,
they're going to the deer. He's.
Oh my
He's
God.
connecting the aqueducts. You got to see that it's still one.
And you can't get any upgrades. How is he not realizing he can't get upgrades or can't queue cataphracts?
Well, Order the Dragon taking this time to drop a Regnance.
What if this is a big bait? He waits for Regnance, he cancels Cistern, and now he... I don't know why he would do that, but you know.
Maybe this is part of a big master plan that we're not aware of. But that Cistern of the First Hill still not built yet. Been in progress for about 4 minutes, it feels like.
My mind is, it's hard to focus on anything else right now.
Just seeing that in the corner.
It's just like, come on.
When's it going to happen?
Is he going to go, wait, what if he just goes like castle to immediately impure?
What? I don't know.
Oh, okay. I guess that the Akeshik on the farms proved.
No, it's a cataphract.
Oh, it was a cataphract?
The game desynced somehow. So one observer finished the cistern while the main observer didn't.
I'm so confused.
I have never. So,
Yes.
the one that was being piped to us.
Yes, that was not in H3.
Okay.
But Wam went castle.
So we were seeing, so we're getting word from Observer Cal over here that the game, AoE 4 things, there were 2 games going on, but we were only seeing 1. And they weren't playing the one we were seeing. They were playing one that actually aged up. The age up went through, the game desynced for our side, but not their side. And so they played it normally. And the reason he forfeited, there was a cataphract on the farms during that timing. So that what we were seeing is just like, I don't know what, like.
I don't even, like what was did reality shift because they were issuing commands?
The stuff was moving.
The villagers were going from the deer to the mill.
Oh, yeah, so
wow.
see, we can see it on the graph. The age up goes through. We're sitting there for like 4 minutes looking like idiots.
Yeah, just feel like, why isn't he finishing? Like, does he not?
But you can see where the eco count went after that. You can also, more importantly, see the military value lead after that.
Yeah, that definitely was not on our screen. We did not see that military value.
All right, well, that definitely kind of shakes some things up in our eyes, but what a series there by Wham. A clean series. It might not have looked clean.
Whatever we saw in that last game, yeah, it's something else. I don't think I've ever seen that bug before.
I don't think we might not ever encounter that bug again. It may not be reproducible, and it might have just been a one-off thing.
Cosmic ray from somewhere out in the galaxy just.
But that's just, it shows for the viewers we always got something special for them. We're always going to do something for y'all, just no problem. It's just,
We're going to show you a fake game that didn't really happen, like a split, a divergent timeline or something.
Exactly. But what a series there. What a good set of games. Mr. obviously, trying to hold his own against Wham. It's never an easy task. You're playing against one of the best of the best. We saw this previous couple weeks. Wham had games against Beastie that was able to take Beastie down, I believe. Had games against a lot of the other pros and just looking very, very in form, which made sense. They grinded hard for Wololo qualifiers.
Yeah, it certainly showed in Wololo.
So big congrats, Wham. Congrats on the W. Nice old 3-0 clean game. It might not look clean on our side. I think you just got a little update from there, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But we'll just jump on into game one. You played Roos, and you did a different build than your brother. So I like that. I always like seeing the variability. So is that one that y'all like to kind of have differing strats, or is it one that y'all kind of still game plan somewhat together?
Well, Roos is one of those civs that got changed a lot by the patch, right? So we haven't really had the time to actually make a solid build, but I saw his build, right? And I thought, I like the 2 hunting cabins better, so.
And I think that's one of those that the meta's not gonna develop over a day or even a couple days or a week. It's gonna take time, and I've kind of leaned towards it to where you think now Roos is gonna be one where and I think that was a lot of the goal of the patch was you have different choices now with landmarks. You're not always gonna go Golden Gate. You're not always gonna go Kremlin. So now that variability is there. You think that's gonna depend now on a civs that you're playing against more now?
Yeah, definitely. So the Kremlin didn't really change that much. They changed a little bit with the militia, but the Golden Gate got buffed a little bit, and I mean the entire Roos interaction is just different. I feel like personally that Fast Castle is better, and that the Golden Gate definitely makes that a lot easier, especially if you're trading for gold or trading for food. I mean, just getting that extra value is very good.
Yeah, and especially when we talk about kind of this, they lost some early games, so if they don't get pressured early, then who cares? And then you're now having the Golden Gate throughout the rest of the game, extra tickets, you don't need the defense, and you also have extra gold now with the way that Bruce has been reworked too, with the bounty income.
Yeah, so if you watch the game closely, I actually had very, very few people on gold that entire game, and I was building knights, I was building crossbowmen, upgrades, and...
There was a point where you had 0 on gold, and we didn't look at how many Chinese had on gold. I want to say it was like 6 or 7, and you were like only down like 80 income per minute, and it was just like, what? That isn't fair.
I think the beauty with that Roos build is that gold is the resource as Roos that you gather the slowest, so you can have more people on wood, you gather that faster. Food now gathers faster, I guess, because you get that gold on top of it. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that build.
Yeah, was that also one when you scouted the map? Yeah, I noticed obviously with the God view that we have, where double deer and boar all in the same location for Chinese. They're a civ that struggles with food. Was that we saw you attack there a lot? That was like your main point of attack. Obviously, you had a few archers on the gold, but was that one where you scouted and you're like, oh, I'm going there 100% type of thing?
Yeah, I was kind of rotating between the food and the gold and the wood on the side there. TheMrMunch actually told me after the games, he's like, I should have put my Barbican on the food there. I'm like, yeah, that's probably a better spot to put it. And I didn't really make any units early on because I wanted to go Castle Age, so he probably could have done that. And
That's
would have been a little
when
bit
I
more
saw the
difficult.
Barbican being dropped, my immediate response was like, this doesn't really do anything. I was like, you're like getting vision in the front of your base, but that's not what the Barbican's for. It's usually for securing a main resource. But that was a great game 1. We saw game kind of 2 kind of have this same clean build from you, where it didn't seem like you had too much of a struggle with game 2. Was there any times where you were worried? Any times where you were like, I need to watch out for X, Y, or Z?
So there was a little bit in the mid game where I wasn't kind of sure what he was doing, if he was all-inning or if he was. I mean, he went second TC, but he could have all-ined after that. But we're going Castle Age, but the game went pretty well. I actually couldn't find the bull. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I was like searching with my archer. I'm like, where is my bull?
I saw you move out with 8 villagers. I'm like, he's going to take the boar. I'm like, maybe he's going for his opponent's boar. And then you went back for your berries. I was like, I don't know. I was like, I have no idea what he was doing there. So I did see that. But the main thing that I saw was the first night came out. You're able to kind of make sure that the second TC doesn't go out further. It kind of makes English even more condensed than they already was. And with double forward woodlines, you just kind of kept nickel and diming him throughout the next 5 to 10 minutes, and all of a sudden it was just too much damage to deal with.
Yeah, and I did notice he went council, and I was pretty surprised by that. Now, King is, I would say, better, especially against French, but if you go council hole, it definitely leads me to think that he's going to do a H2 all-in.
That's what I was thinking when I saw it.
You have that range on me, so I'm like, okay, I kind of have to think about that a little bit.
I said that too when I saw the council hall start, which obviously we have God view, like you said, you didn't see it until a little later. I saw him over on the stone. I'm like, why is he going stone if he's council hall? Like that, it completely like kind of seemed like a counteracting play, but obviously it's one that maybe castle, it was for crossbows, but wasn't ever able to get there on even footing. And then game 3, going in, I was hoping you picked Delhi so we could maybe see some elephants, but we were maybe getting the best of both worlds with a Merc on the trade post, but none of that either. It was just Keshik's into the fast castle, and that's really where I felt like there was a point where he had a few horsemen out, and it was like pretty scary in a sense, because those horsemen, you can't just deal with that with one unit almost. Like I think there was one where a Keshik versus horseman, and the horseman ended up beating out against the Keshik. I was like, how did that happen? So was that one where you kind of were worried with the horseman raids, had to react a little bit, or needed to, you're like, Keshik to deal with this, I'll be good to go?
So yeah, I was pretty worried that game, just because normally I wouldn't think Order of the Dragon would go horseman.
Mm-hmm.
Typically they go men-at-arms a lot more, and if I knew he was going horseman, I would have towered that gold a lot sooner. But thinking he was going men-at-arms, I kind of just... They're showing the game now, but I just...
So you're actually about to... So they're showing the game from what happened. So what we're about to talk about is what was on our side on the observer cams was not this. It stopped your age up with like 2 seconds left, and it showed you not aged up. So we're sitting there, we're like, what is Wam doing? He's not aging. But the game's still being played. I'm like, cataphracts aren't in queue, nothing's in queue, resources are piling up, but everything's moving still. So we're all just like freaking out. We're like, he's not aging up, he's not aging up. I'm like, it's about to be an even timing. And then the game ends and we're like, why? And thus there's a cataphract on the farms. Cal comes over with his phone. I'm like, oh. So a whole different view, if you rewatch it the last 4 minutes, it's just us being like, what is he doing? What is he doing? Oh my gosh. And I'm like, maybe it's like this. I'm like, there's no way he doesn't realize when he can't queue cataphracts, you can't queue upgrades. I'm like, there's no way. And sure enough.
Yeah, I went off the stage and people were like, what, you didn't age up? Like, what are you doing? I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. I guess that's one of those, one of the many odd things that we have seen with AoE for desync client side stuff, who knows what. But it's good to know that we saw the Cistern in the first hill, which obviously got buffed. It's good to see the cataphract. We didn't get to see the cataphract, but did you think the move speed allowed you to kind of maybe have a little bit of a quicker timing, or at that point it was still already game over?
Honestly, I was thinking more doing that just because of the system of the hill. I wasn't really thinking about the cataphract speed, but I just thought Keshik's, they kind of benefit from the system of the hill as well. Mm-hmm. He's playing Order of the Dragon. Maybe he's slow enough that I can actually get Castle Age, but I liked it.
Yeah, obviously it worked out well. So first series under your belt now. Obviously, this isn't the first LAN you've been at, but did you had some nerves going into the first game where you're like, hey, this is, in person's always a different level here?
I actually felt pretty comfortable. Normally, just, at any tournament, I have some nerves, but that goes away after the first or second game.
Yeah.
this tournament in particular, I'm feeling pretty good.
There you go. Well, it's always nice getting that comfortability level, getting that first series behind you, and now you just get to cheer some people on and get to see what's in store and get prepped for your next series now.
Yep.
Any surprises that you don't have to obviously go into the Civs, but do you think you got any surprising strats planned that we might not be expecting, or you're like, hey, it's early on now, I have no idea?
Can't say, but
okay.
I probably don't have as many as you think. I thought that Roos build order was kind of something cool that I came up with just out of the patch, but other than that, maybe one or two.
All right. Well, we'll be making sure to keep an eye out for it. I'll be trying to guess it if I'm casting some of your games and seeing maybe some of the new ideas and strategies there. But congrats on the first series. Obviously, you'll have a few more ahead of you, and so we'll be seeing what you have in store on the next ones.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You know it.